Hey there, everyone. Dr. Beth Westy here, and I'm just realizing this is a little crooked. That's okay. You don't mind, do you? No, of course not. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the hormone cycle that you have throughout your entire life, and how that changes and how that is different. Now, I do address this in more detail in my book, The Female Fat Solution. This is on Amazon. If you have not picked up a copy, do so now, because I do dive into this more. I actually have a whole section in this book called The 7 Bodies of Eve, and it goes through the different bodies that you have throughout your lifetime. If you think about it, men only have like 2 bodies, right? Like before puberty and after puberty, right? For women, before puberty, after puberty, then you really get into like a fertility age. Then you have, if you get pregnant, you have your pregnant body, then your postpartum body, and then you're gonna have perimenopause, and then you're gonna have menopause, right? There's so many different bodies that women go through in their life. It is nuts, right? And each body, Eve, it's all her fault. It's one of those things that, like, when you think about it, you're like, oh, holy cow. Yes. Hi, Melody. Yeah. Happy you're on watching live too. So if you guys have questions, if you're catching this live, you can pop questions below if you've got them. Otherwise, if you're watching a replay or something, again, still put questions below. I'm more than happy to answer them. Ooh, before I get too excited on what we're talking about, before I forget, stay tuned for some really great info. I'm going to be doing a webinar, not this weekend, but next weekend, next Sunday, the 21st, October 21st. I'm going to be doing a webinar. I will put info out about that, but stay tuned for it because I am launching something really, really fun, super, super amazing, and I will explain more about that. It's all about nutrition and your hormones and your cycle and the seasons and all these other really cool things. Anyway, so stay tuned for that. Tell your friends. Anyway, but yes, if you are finding this information helpful, if you do share this video, I would so love and appreciate, because a lot of women, they struggle, or they're not understanding why things are like this or that with their bodies, and they're like, I don't get it. I'm like, I know, it's because your body's so different. So anyway, so the 7 bodies of Eve, when you think about it, you're like, yeah, think about what your body would need nutritionally and how that can shift and change for you. So for women, and this is like the nutrition recommendation and all the labels and stuff, right? It's like there's nothing that addresses how your body changes throughout your lifetime. The recommendation for women, it literally stops at age 14. Yeah, age 14, like no other nutritional recommendations are made for women throughout their life. No, whatever. Oh, never mind that you may go through, of course they're like, oh, if you're pregnant, just get more calories. That's what we're told. Oh, you just need like 300 more calories a day. You need more calories during this time. Every month you need more calories. Like, hello? Because our bodies are so different week to week. Hello, people, right? And then the different phases of life that you go into. Your body at 18 is very different than your body at 38 and at 58. Know what I'm saying? Nutritionally, you do much better when you address those different needs at those different times, because the female body shifts so much. So much. Anyway, so I dive into that more in my book. I gotta shut it down a little bit because I'm gonna start to sweat. I'm gonna get so worked up. Anyway, so there's that. I do also have my podcast, The Female Health Solution, where I do talk more about different health issues for women. Some amazing episodes coming up. I'm really, really excited. And then I do have my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so now, because I release information all the time and all of my videos are archived there. So if you're ever wondering, you ever come across something, search for it on my YouTube channel, because I guarantee I've done a video on it. And if I haven't, send me a message and I will. So this is a question I've gotten a lot, because a lot of women, when they go through shifts and changes in life, and they go through menopause, perimenopause, or menopause, for whatever reason, right? I say for whatever reason because there's a lot of women that go through traumatic experiences. It can be through illnesses, injuries, surgeries, things like that. For example, I had a good friend of mine. Her mom contracted breast cancer and everything. She tested BRCA positive, so she had the double mastectomy and had a preemptive hysterectomy to prevent that. So she was slammed into menopause at the ripe old age of 36, right? So she, was struggling with a lot of these things, and I was like, I know, it's so tough. You know what I mean? to just be slammed into this different phase. But so women think, oh, I don't have a cycle anymore. You know, it's just not, some of this information isn't addressed. So when I say, you know, going through menopause, perimenopause, or menopause for whatever reason, it's not just necessarily because, you know, it's that phase of life that you're in. It can be for other reasons. So there's that. Now, when we talk about hormones here, we always start with this. This is a female cycle. And I always go through this. Day 1 is the first day of your period. Day 14 is about when you would ovulate and the hormones really shift. Day 28 is when you start all over again, right? Is when it ends and it starts all over again. I'm going to make sure if I get any questions or comments here. Yeah, the amount of crap info out there for women makes you sad, right? Yes, it's so hard for women to find the right info for their bodies, and they end up being stuck and frustrated and not knowing where to turn. And that's why I write books and do podcasts and everything else. You know what I mean? I honestly believe in putting more info out there for women so you can gain this knowledge and have the empowerment to shift how you're feeling, your results, everything else. And then share that with other women. There's a lot of power in word of mouth and just telling women, hey, if you're sick and tired of struggling, it's because you're just doing something that's not meant for your body. You're following the wrong map. You know, you're not following a map that's made for your body. Our body looks, you know, our map needs to match this. It's a more complicated map. But again, we're women. We can handle it. Just tell us the right map. You know what I mean? Tell us the right map. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about this now. See, I'm going to start sweating again. Okay. So when women go through shifts and changes, right? This is essentially before puberty, the body, you know, shifting, going through puberty, hormones onset, blah, 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 right? Okay, yes, here we go. So that is the hormone phase and cycle. Estrogen, let me write that down. I didn't even write that. I was so excited to draw my graph. Look at me, I get so excited. I get to draw a graph again. Okay, estrogen, right? And then progesterone. And I draw estrogen in blue and progesterone in red because of warming and cooling. I talk about this a lot with women. Warming and cooling aspects, eating for your cycle and hormones, again, which is detailed out in my book. And it's part of the programs that I do with women. And how I work with women implementing, you know, eating for your cycle and hormones. Now, a big thing that comes along with this for a lot of women is that they don't realize that this is a phase and pattern that gets onset. Now, estrogen and progesterone are primarily produced by your reproductive organs, but they're also in a very small amount produced by other tissues, you know, like fat cells, adrenals, some neural tissues, stuff like that. So when you go through menopause, it's not like you don't have any, it's 0, 0, 0, right? It's just a smaller, diminished amount. What I find for women when they go through menopause is that they will still, if their body's not healthy, strong enough, and hormonally, I don't like to use the word balanced because, again, this isn't balanced and even. It goes through this balance of an ebb and flow. But if it doesn't have that regular pattern to fall back on, right, then it's really tough to set a regular rhythm or to follow something. But what I found is for women that follow eating for hormones and things like that, your body finds that rhythm because it's used to it. It's had that rhythm for years. So this is just an example, but say a gal has her period onset at 15 and she has it till she's 55, right? You know, give or take, right? That's 40 years, 35 to 40 years. It's a long time. Your body's used to that. Your body is used to it every month, all the time. The ebb and flow and in and out. And just because your reproductive organs aren't producing the hormone at the same level anymore, there's other tissues in your body that are still having this ebb and flow. And it affects everything systemically, right? Going through menopause, your body also reacts to stress very differently at this point and everything else, which we'll get into at a different video. But know that if you're struggling with stress differently and you're in perimenopause or menopause, very normal because your body's different, right? You have different body chemistry happening. So even this seems like a normal amount of stress. I should be able to handle this. No, it's a different body now. Same thing with gals going through perimenopause and menopause. You have a different body. You have a very different body now. Yeah, so you need to eat to match that new body. Melissa, you're 53, I've been in cycle. Yes. Yeah. So that perimenopause, all that stuff. So you're going to be noticing shifts and changes, and it's tough to keep up with, and it's tough to navigate in what you're doing. So what I recommend for women to do and follow, just to kind of figure this out, and I have had women have positive experiences with this, even after going through menopause, because they can figure out and sort of track where their body naturally wants to fall in a rhythm, is your basal body temperature. Basal body temperature. Yes. Now this, it will be lower, right? So I'm adding this on, layering on top of the graph. These things are not to scale to each other. Let's be clear. I'm just adding this on here so you can get the visualization of where this would fall in line here. Lower, it drips, it comes up, and it's higher here. So overall, this can be a degree different or more. We'll just say a degree 0.5 difference here. So say this is 97 degrees, right? And this would be 98.5 degrees here on average. You're measuring your temperature here, it's 97, oh, here, yep. And then it's up, all of a sudden it jumps in, it's up there. Very cleanly drawn. This is the thing that your body just flips back and forth, hence the cooling and the warming that I talk about. It follows your natural body temperature too. Isn't that cool? I think it's cool. Of course I think it's cool. But you're eating for cooling here, but just following your basal body temperature. Now I have a lot of women when they go through menopause, what they'll notice is that their temperature will still rise. It just kind of comes back down again because they don't have the progesterone to keep it there. But you're still having a shift and change. Ooh, basal body temperature been high, then hot flashes like crazy. Yes, yeah. That's that progesterone coming through. That's working through that, absolutely. But important to keep track of. Important to keep track of your basal body temperature, where you're at, what's going on, what is happening, so you can kind of ebb and flow with it. But a lot of women think, I don't have it anymore, right? No, your body's going through these shifts and changes. And as those hormones ebb and flow, it's like reverse puberty. You know, it happened so long ago. If you went through puberty, you don't remember all the hormonal shifts and changes and all that other stuff because your body was so much younger. Cells turned over quicker, and it maybe didn't feel like it ravaged your system as quickly. But it's in reverse, and it's happening now. So a lot of women will experience things like hormonal acne, right? Mood swings, right? It's the shift in hormone, right? It changes so much. The hot flashes, all that stuff, because there's a surge or a flushing of that hormone as your body's trying to figure out the pattern again, because that's getting disrupted. Now, the really tough thing about perimenopause too is that there's no clear path through it. Even when puberty is onsetting, it can take anywhere from 2 to 6 years for your cycle to become regular on its own. Seems like a long period of time to me. Did you get that pun in there? Did you get that? Most women, though, if you have an irregular cycle, most women will not, or you're told that it's not normal to have that, so you should be, put on birth control or have something like that right away. When really, you're not even giving your body a chance to find a regular rhythm or pattern. You know what I mean? So it's really tough. The other thing too is that on the other side of that, the perimenopause, that can last anywhere from 1 year to 10 years. What? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Where's the help in that? Oh, there's not any. No. So when we talk about, really getting your body in a regular rhythm, some of the things that can really help are following, eating and cooling, warming, eating for cooling and warming, and having a regular pattern rhythm to go along with. That way, again, your body's in rhythm. When it wants to, shorten or have something shift with that, it's got a regular pattern to fall back on. That way your hormones are not all over the place as much. Hot flashes, a lot of women go through that. There's different foods that can trigger them. Of course, excess sugars, stress, lack of sleep, right? All of these things. I find that, following you know, the information that I have out there for women for cycles and eating helps a ton. It helps a ton. This alone, I have had women regulate their cycles, you know, everything else. But again, following this, even if you're in perimenopause or menopause, can help so much with a lot of these other symptoms. And a lot of times people say, oh, well, I'm doing the like supplements. Yam is common, red raspberry, black cohosh, right? And all that stuff, sure. Is that helpful? Sure. But if you're not having an underlying base of health for your body, adding in all these like supplements, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm taking a vitamin to be really, really healthy, but I still go to McDonald's for 3 meals a day. Okay. You know, let's, you know, start with the foundation first. Start with, you know, getting a good baseline first, you know? Eating for the cycle, eating for your hormones, cutting out some of those sugars, really address flushing out any excess hormone from your system. Then when you add in a black cohosh or something, you'll be like, oh, that does help, because so much of everything will be improved already. There'll be just a smaller percentage left, and you'll be like, oh, there we go. There, it's so much better, right? Otherwise, it's like taking like a dropper full of water and trying to put out a bonfire, with just using a little dropper. Doop, doop, doop. Yeah. So that's been my experience with a lot of women. It's not a fun answer. It's not an easy answer. It's more of a frustrating answer, we'll say. Thank you, buddy. But it's, you know, it's something to be aware of. You know, there is no quick fix. There is no overnight answer here. There isn't, because our bodies are not designed or built that way. It takes time. It takes consistency. And it really makes a big difference. So you need to daily figure out how to eat according to your lovely menopausal cycle. Yes. Okay. So, Ashley, great question. Yeah. So starting somewhere. A lot of times, if you're, say you're in menopause, if you're like, oh my gosh, I have it in my cycle in 6 months. I think I'm in that perimenopause or even menopausal stage. Where do I start? What do I do? Okay. Start taking your basal body temperature. Basal body temperature. Okay, by the way, if you go to the store and they're like, this special basal body temperature, and they're trying to sell you this thing that's like $5 more than the regular El Cheapo thermometer, it's the same thing. You just take your temperature. You know, this is another rant I'm going to go on just for a minute, because I just can't help it, is when they sell things to women and they like package it in a different way or whatever, and they like bump up the price a ton, you know, like they call it pink it and shrink it. It's like women's clothing is always made more crappy than men's clothing, you know, pink razors, and it costs more and has less blades than the male razor. Like, come on, what is that? What is it? Men are shaving their face, which is like this big. I'm shaving my leg. I'm 6'2". Are you kidding? Anyway, right? Okay, so same thing with the stupid, thermometers. It's a thermometer. Same thermometer that I use to take my kid's temperature is the same thermometer I use to take my temperature. It's a thermometer. You can do ear thermometer, regular thermometer, it doesn't matter, right? Like, leave it right by your bed, because the key here is that you take your temperature same time every day upon waking. So say you wake up at 6 a.m. around that time every day. You take your temperature, write it down. You don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to drink any water. You don't want to go to the bathroom. Bing, eyes open, groggily, you know, hit your alarm, grab the thermometer, lay there for a few seconds, because you get a little time to lay there then. Lay there. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, it's done? Okay, write it down. That's it. Super easy to do. You just got to remember to do it. That's why I say keep it next to your bed, so you don't get out of bed, because you don't want to change your core body temperature right away in the morning when you wake up. Now, if on the weekends you sleep in till 7 or 8, that's okay. Just know that your temperatures might be a little bit different on the weekends. And overall, you're not looking for it to be exact. It goes up and down a little bit, you know, here. But it should be very different here to here. So that's what you're really looking for. Yeah, so start taking your temperature. Start doing that. And if you feel like you're like, I don't know where I am at all. You know, you just start with something. I mean, I have a lot of info out there on cooling and warming. I can even post a picture below this video of just some sample foods of cooling versus warming. They're whole foods, regular foods that you eat, you know, chicken versus beef, you know, chicken is cooling, beef is more warming. There you go. Just, you know, tweaking your foods to match with what's going on internally. And then you go from there, right? So if you find out that you're like, oh, I'm in the warming phase, you know, and then I switch over to cooling and my temperature drops, great, switch over to the cooling foods. Easy peasy, great. And that can help a ton. That, getting enough protein in and finding ways to flush out that excess hormone of your body. So there's different hormonal detoxes, fat cell cleanses, all those other things that I take women through in my programs that really target your system and refreshing everything so the hot flashes get like everything gets flushed out of the system and it restarts, right? Again, getting to that healthier baseline quicker and maintaining it. You know, that's the other thing, is that you're following a pattern for your body for how it functions to move forward from there. So I went on a couple of rants tonight. I got a little fired up. Yeah, so hopefully this is helpful. Again, if you are watching this and you're like, okay, that sounds good, but I want more, info on something. I want more guidance on this, or that sounds good. I think I want to start something like that. Let me know. Send me a message. I am an open book. You know, if you have questions, send me a message. I'm more than happy to kind of help guide something. Does this work after hysterectomy? Yes, yeah. So this is absolutely like, you know, you still have these hormones that are produced by other tissues in the body. It's on a smaller scale, right? It's not like on a bigger scale, like it's on a smaller scale. But you can still take advantage of the basal body and different shifts for there, and still benefit from following a pattern for your system. What is a hormone cleanse? Ooh, Sheila, great question. I'll have to do a whole video on that, on what a hormone cleanse is and how to, because there's so many different types of ways to cleanse and detox the system, which women, it's really important that we do, because hormones get metabolized by our liver. And if your liver is struggling from stress or lack of sleep or lack of nutrient, it's not going to metabolize those hormones as well. And it's going to be really, really tough. So we'll talk about that. That's a great question. That's a great question. I love it. Yeah. So, all right. So if you're catching the replay, you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, that's what I got for you. Stay tuned. Once I have some more info on my webinar and when it's coming out, or the details of where to sign up, I will be putting that everywhere. So stay tuned for that, because it's amazing. And the webinar, I'm going to be diving into this even more. I'm going to be diving into specifics. So if you're struggling with this specifically, I will be spending an hour diving into estrogen, progesterone, eating, like specifics on how to go through and do this, how to implement it. So like the next morning you could be like, oh, here we go. I'm gonna get started with this. Yes. Right? That's all going to be laid out in the webinar. I've had so many women ask for more in-depth teachings, and it's really tough to do with just a live video. So I'm going to do it in a webinar fashion, because you guys have asked, you know, and wanted the info, right? It's great that it's in a book. It's great that it's out there, but that way I get to tailor and tweak my, the teachings that I do for the questions that you guys have right away, real time, and really open those things up. So I'll be putting info out for the webinar. If you have questions that you want me to answer and go through, I want you to send them to me. Otherwise, stay tuned to get signed up for that. I'm really, really excited, and I will see you guys later.